Hey, everybody. What is up out there? We are starting this is episode 9, y'all. This is kind of exciting. We're one episode away from hitting double digits of Josh Says Mean Things. Of course, I don't really say mean things, it's just a funny title for our image review show for our patrons. It's free to everybody to watch. Anybody that subscribes to our YouTube channel obviously can watch and say, hey, but if you want to get a photo in the review, that is open to our patrons. There's a link there, patreon.com/azulox. Let's go ahead and switch over to our, yay, look at that. And y'all get to start off with this beautiful photo of Cuba. So that's where we're going to be starting. Let's see if this is going to update. Our chat window is always kind of a little bit slow, so let's hopefully that gets connected. Hey, what's up, Mark? Hey, what's up, Steven? Hey, what's up, Stacy? How is everybody doing? Yeah, you know, hope everybody's good. There we go. Chat window's up, so now I can actually see what I'm doing. That's even better. Yeah. Mark and Steven and Stacy and all my other crazy people that go out and take weird photos with me. Steven and I were just out in Colorado Bend taking Milky Way, and I still haven't had enough time to process all my photos. I'm having some image stitching problems, so not problems, but it's just more than Lightroom can handle, so I'm having to go out and download PT GUI, GUI, PT GUI. I don't know if that's how you say it, but we'll go with that. Is it GIF? Is it GIF? We can start that debate in the comments too. Really, start that flame war going. Yeah, PT GUI. It's a really cool panorama editor. I've been trying to learn it. I'm on a trial right now, but I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and get the big one so that I can put together all of my Milky Way shots that we took at this last adventure out of Colorado Bend. Emily and Steven and some other folks were out there with us, and I had rented a Syrup Genie, which allows me to do some automatic pan and tilting, and we created some really massive panoramas, like 27 photo panoramas. So it's a little bit more than Lightroom really wants to deal with. So yeah, so still working on that. I do have one to show y'all that I took of Neowise. I learned a new technique in the last week for stacking photos, and I am kind of blown away by the noise reduction in it. So yeah, I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to tell you what ISO I shot it at, and y'all aren't going to believe me when I tell you. So that's going to be cool. Yeah, so we'll wait a few more, maybe one more minute, and let everybody join in. I will say also that I did a shoot today with we did a makeup editorial shoot with some friends of mine, and things that were used on a shoot include feathers, foil, and a cheese grater. So let me get those photos processed, and there'll be some some fun ones in there. The cheese grater is actually something I'm going to use again because I really like the way it looked. So yeah, it's it's kind of a fun thing because it has holes and you can push light through it, and then you get different patterns on people's faces, but you have to hold it really close, and it looks kind of weird when you hold up a cheese grater just outside of your camera lens. The model doesn't really know what the heck you're doing. So yeah, we used a cheese grater to good effect today. So yeah, well, all right, we wait a couple minutes, we'll have to get started. So um, yeah, hey, what's up, Jasper? What's up, man? Your lovely wife has a photo coming up in this, and I think Steven and I were about 10 feet apart, maybe 20 feet away from when it was taken, but it's beautiful. It's better than what I've got so far to show from that night. So yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about this wonderful photo from one of our lovely patrons, Mr. Miguel Ortiz. This is from his Cuba trip. I'm thinking last year he went. Miguel, if you're out there listening, let me know when you went. I think it was last year. Maybe it's 2 years ago. But there was a photo from it in last trip from another car. And just look at this photo. Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love this photo. We have a classic car, right, that's only found in Cuba, right? This could be only found in Cuba, right? So but really the important part is, um, oh, Kendra just texted me. Cool. And she says it's not letting her comment. Okay, cool. Hi, Kendra. So what I love about this though, not only is it a beautiful sunset, and this classic car that really can only be found in Cuba, but let's talk about the moment, right? We have a car just under this crashing wave from the ocean. So even though we don't necessarily see the ocean, we know it's there. We can kind of see it, right? It's a little bit in the horizon. But just this like green of the car, and it's a panning shot, which are hard to do anyway, right? With that slow shutter speed. But then we get a sunset, and then we have this car in motion with a wave going over it. Just love this. But let's talk about why this works. Right, part of it is because it's that moment, you know, and in a little bit we're going to see another photo that's another really good moment. But in this one, I just love that the car's in motion and the water's in the motion, but the sky is serene. So you have a contrast of the oranges and the blues and the water and the motion. I'd like to know how many shots it took to get this one. When I do panning shots, I have to take a lot to get the ones I really like. But also, I think when a lot of people struggle, right, we get that beautiful sunset photo, but then we don't have a foreground. Okay, so imagine without this big water splash behind it, it would still be a pretty cool photo, right? It would still be this cool car with a nice sunset. But now we have this really active middle ground. So we have a car in the foreground in motion with the water in the middle ground in motion. And then we have that, you know, that sunset time. So all three layers are working to make the photo better, right? So we have a foreground, a middle ground, the background. We have color contrast, we have action contrast, we have mood, right? Motion smooth, wave blur. So we have all these things working together to get to that one thing. So I think it's good to practice any one technique, right? It's good to practice panning. It's good to practice getting moments. It's good to practice getting sunsets. But then to be able to put them all together, right? That's kind of where the magic really happens, is where we can take multiple techniques, bring them together, and then really tell the story of that time, of that place, right? That's kind of the end goal. So anyway, Miguel, really well done. Love this photo. Let's see. Can we go next? There we go. All right, and just like we were talking about, this is from Miss Emily and Jasper. Jasper was not at this trip, but he was at the last one, or two ago now. And I'm curious, Jasper, if Emily's around, ask her how she shot it, because I don't know if this is all. I think this is all from one image. I think she had her 20 mil on. I think this is all from one, and I really like this. I liked that the river. So this is out in Colorado Bend, but it almost feels like a medium format. That foreground is so kind of like out of focus. But look how sharp the stars are, right? So it leads you in. That river is that good, nice leading line up to the Milky Way, and the Milky Way kind of fills that diagonal going out. So we start at the bottom right, we kind of bend around, and then we go up and out. And so that's a really nice way to compose it. I was actually standing right next to her, I think, when she shot this. But this is actually the opposite end of the galactic core. So the galactic core, if you follow the arch of the Milky Way kind of all the way across, this is the tail end, not the head, of the Milky Way at night. And this is probably taken at what, maybe 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, somewhere in there. And it's this really beautiful spot. We had to hike, just so you know, we had to hike about 2 miles in. I think it was 1.8 miles. Steven, does that sound right? 1.8 miles in, we got to this deck, this overlook point above the Colorado River there in Lampasas, Texas, at Colorado Bend State Park. And we had this cool bend in the river, and then we had this arch of the Milky Way. And Steven really got a really good pano shot. I'm working on putting mine together. I did have a cloud disrupt me that like ran through my exposures. I'm not very happy about that. Anyway, but yeah, this is just real beautiful. And what I like about it is, yeah, Grandpa made it. So yeah, it was a 4-mile hike round trip in 100-degree weather. What I like about it though is that knowing where we were, taking the lesser part of the galactic core to make a stronger photo, to make a stronger foreground leading line going up to it. So the galactic core would have been better if you would have turned 90 degrees to the right, or 180 degrees to the right. But I think this photo is stronger because of it. So yeah, it's really cool. I think it was shot at like f2, if I remember, standing right next to the person taking it. You know, it's got a good foreground. It's got good leading lines. I really love the color going from like blue to cyan to orange down into that bottom there. So 11:30, yeah, that may be true. I kind of lost track of time while we were there. So yeah, really well done. You're going to see some more astro photos. This is that time of year where everybody's going out into the woods and taking astro photos. The trick, right, is to do something with it. So, you know, the first step is, can you get a photo of the Milky Way? Step one. For those of you who don't know, I have struck out getting Milky Way photos. It took me 14 months until this trip to actually get the Milky Way galactic core. Either the clouds would roll in, or I fell asleep one time before it actually rose. I couldn't stay up long enough for it to come out. So I've had issues. I went out 5 times over 14 months and I never got a picture. And so I finally got one this trip and I'm really happy about that. Hey, Kira, you pulled yourself away from Animal Crossing for 5 minutes to come join us. Hope you had a good lift today. Yeah. Hey, Kira, I'm really glad you're here. I appreciate you. Good to see you on Saturday. Was it Saturday? No, when did we shoot? What's today? Tuesday? Sunday? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, so good photo, Emily. Yeah, let's go to the next one. This is from Ronnie, another one of our patrons. And I just really like the color contrast, right? So pink and green. I'll be honest, I have a hard time working with green. I've been trying to use green in a lot of my gel work and a lot of my, you know, crazy color work, and I struggle using green. So I really like 2 things about this photo. Yeah, what are days? Exactly. What are days anymore? So I really like the pink and green contrast here, but also the texture. So look at all this pollen just hanging off the leaves of this, I don't know what it is. But you can, and then the sharp barbs coming out of the green. So I like that this person got really close, and instead of trying to show you what the entire flower was, we took a smaller piece of the story to tell the larger story. Does that make sense? So instead of trying to show everything and really saying nothing, they took a smaller piece and said more by it. Okay? This kind of goes with that last photo of the Milky Way. By showing the lesser side of the Milky Way galactic core, I think they actually told a stronger story because the composition wasn't as good going the other direction. And I really love that we're looking up at this photo. So the camera is below and we're shooting up, but all this texture, you have the softness of the flower, the petals or whatever those are, with all the texture on the pollen. But on this green, we have all these sharp, sticky things, right? Texas, everything's sharp and pointy, and it's trying to stick you. And so just that contrast, the green contrast, but then we have this negative space. This type of photo is really great, right? If you wanted to put, I don't know, a poem or something that filled that dark space on the left, this is the type of photo that works really well for that, because there's no distracting background, right? We have that clean, neutral background, and we can really focus on what's there. So we talk a lot about weight of a photo, right? We talk a lot about the balance of a photo, the balance from the left to right, to the top to the bottom, and making things feel very well weighted. For those of you who watch soccer, or as most of the world calls it, football, right? A good weighted pass, right? It was the right amount of pace on the ball to get there, to get past the defender, but not so much that it goes out of bounds, right? And it's that balance of just the right weight on the photo. And I think this one has it, where there's enough on the top, there's enough on the bottom, there's enough interest on the right and all that sharpness and texture, but then there's a you want a sample poem? You want me to start? I'll start throwing out some free verse here. Yeah, I don't want that. My poetry is somewhere on the level of Vogon poetry. Nobody wants that. But I think it has a good balance between color and texture and there and not there. I was listening to Grateful Dead radio. How's this for a random segue? But a lot of musicians talk about the notes they don't play, and the notes they don't play can really add more to by not playing a note, they're adding more to the song than they are by adding more notes. And so I think this one, right, that kind of the note not played is what goes through my head. That whole left side of the photo is the note not played. You didn't feel the need to put something there when it didn't need that, right? It needed that blank space so that the weight was right. So anyway, good job, Ronnie. We like this photo. Yeah, cool. All right, this is from Miss Bryn. Some of y'all that do things at Precision might know Bryn. She's the one who schedules all the classes and sends you emails when the classes don't make or when I'm offering something new and crazy. So again, like a very different take on the Milky Way. So we have the Milky Way exposed, and that's that fat part, the fat part, the head of the galactic core, right? The part that faces kind of south southwest in the night sky here in Texas. So we have that going on, but then we have an alien landing, right? Is this person guiding where the UFO is supposed to land? Is, you know, what is it marking? Is it a grave that they're marking, right? We can't really make out the face. And so I really like that this is, yo, Bryn, I really like that this used the Milky Way and the galactic core to tell a bigger piece of the story, right? To make it more suggestive. A lot of times we'll see a shot where there's like a hiker with the headlamp pointed straight up and it has like the laser beam going up. And I like that this is kind of a reverse of that. This is the opposite, right? We're painting the foreground, and it really just looks like a landing spot, right? I think we have maybe, what planets are those? Maybe Jupiter and Saturn, maybe Venus, I'm not sure. Super late, yeah, to get that vertical, yeah, you have to wait really, really long, right? To get that vertical part of the galactic core going up and down. Also, I'm going to recommend Photo Pills. I have taken the time this year to learn that app, and it is muy helpful when you're out in the woods and you're trying to like frame your shots. So I have used it very extensively over the last 2 months to get some really cool Milky Way shots. So it'll tell you when it's going to be vertical like this in the night sky instead of having to stay up all night. You can be at places that's Saturn, Jupiter. Yeah, see, I was right. You know, so Photo Pills, yeah, it's $10, but it's really worth it. It's saved my butt twice now. So Brent, I really like this photo. I don't know what I would do. Well, I do know what I would do. If it was me and I really wanted to play up on the UFO, I love what you did. But let's just put on our thinking caps here. And what can we do to make something crazier? Maybe like a green light on those trees. Do a little light painting in the background where those trees like feel more surreal. Could be something you did. You know, or had an actual alien. I don't know, you know, a little prop or something like that. Maybe baby Yoda. No, just something, right? But I like the abstractness of this. The one thing I would say is I would like the bottom of the photo just pointed up a little bit more and a little bit to the right. I think there's some dead space underneath that red. A little bit of crop to pull from the bottom left and come up, and I think it makes it more stronger. I think with that dark space underneath, it gives the viewer a chance to leave the photo, and I want to make it feel like they can't leave, kind of constricted. So just come up maybe from the bottom and just drag it just a little bit, just so it's a little bit more constrictive. But I love the red pointed down. I don't think that happens enough. Oh, you made the whole scene red? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I want to send me that one too. I want to see it. But yeah, just play with it, right? So this is again the difference between just getting a Milky Way shot and doing something with it as a background, right? So many times like we get these like crazy sunset photos, but there's nothing else going in on them. And I really like this as an example of, cool, you got the Milky Way, now what? Now what can we put in the scene to to tell even more of a story? Yeah. Photo Pills for Milky Way is very, very, very nice. Yeah, you know, it's so weird that digital cameras shoot 3x2 generally, but the world is still on 4x5 crops, right? 8x10 isn't digital, and it hasn't been for a long time, but 8x10 is still kind of the standard, even though nobody shot 8x10 format probably, 50 years, right? It used to be 4x5 cameras or 8x10 cameras. Whereas modern cameras are 3x2. And so, yeah, those aspect ratios, I always say, I mean, y'all probably heard me say this, but the most powerful tool in Lightroom and Photoshop is the crop tool, right? Because that's the first, what you show is such a big part of everything that you do. So yeah, anyway, Brent, I really like this photo. Also the power lines, clone those out just a little bit in the background. Oh, no, it'd also be cool. Yeah, frames are behind. From Stranger Things, right? This is almost like you had that big like walker, like from Stranger Things coming in through the background, right? Have the Milky Way core pointing at that, just like off in the distance in that negative space down there, right? Just that'd be fun too. Or the Iron Giant. Ooh, yeah, the Iron Giant. I could see that one too. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, good job, Brent. Keep going out in the woods and exploring. Yeah, this is from Betty Jean. What's up, Betty Jean? I hope you're out there watching. Um, this is, I don't know if this is either from our, I don't think this is from our workshop at Precision, but I think she went home and played for herself. Yeah, this is that tri-light, right? So we're using like a blue, a yellow, and a teal gel, maybe an orange in there. You're welcome, Bryn. It's good to see you. Thanks for submitting something. Um, for to get white by splitting the color spectrum into thirds. So if you imagine the color wheel, right, the whole color wheel, and then taking a chunk, and a chunk for each light, and you can see those lights behind there. So where they all hit, they become white, and then where each hits, it becomes that color. Where two hit, you get a blend of the colors. It's a class I teach, color and light. It's really fun. But this is from that, or that technique is from there. I don't think this is from the class, but I think she took this because she's wearing a wig in this photo. So my biggest critique about this, the technique is well done, but in this type of photo, the shadows play such an important part of the composition that I would have liked to have seen the camera moved over so that Betty here is more toward the other side of the frame and to give room for those shadows to play, right? You spend so much time gelling lights and getting them all set up, but then not letting them have room to play. So if we just shifted everything, well, I'm going reverse, right? We've shifted everything this way and put Betty Jean more toward that left edge of the photo and gave more room for those the shadows to be there and to exist. I think that could be a little more interesting composition. But the pop of the colors right, right, the skin looks right. But I love, like, if you look at the curl of the hair, you can see the different colors, like in the curl of the hair, which is kind of a fun side effect of all this. And black is hard to do for wearing something that shows more colors would have shown all those different colors on there. Um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of my biggest complaint. That's my biggest mean thing. The other thing, generally for me, when you're posing somebody, here's some great posing advice if you want more of that editorial look. Um, I tell people a lot of times, either your eyes or the plane of your face can be pointing to the camera, but not both. And so if her face was turned a little bit, or her face was out of but her eyes are away, that gives kind of more of that editorial look. I think she's holding the remote trigger in her hand, which is fine. But I think that's something that can really help with these type of portraits is, turn one way but bring the eyes back, or bring the plane of your face to the camera and then eyes away, right? Eyes away. And that way, now the plane of our face and the eyes are adding contrast to the photo so that it's not always just straight, right? Eyes and plane of the face. It's just a little tip. You don't have to do it every time, but just as something you can do. The other thing with this type of photo, if you swing that camera around more and give a profile shot, that can be really neat too. And that allows the shadows to be a foregrounding element into the face. And that can be kind of a cool dynamic as well for those of you trying this technique. If you've ever been around me, I use this technique like all the time. I think it's cool as hell. This is also what stage lighting does, right? So if you go to a play or if you go to something like a past concert hall or any musical performance, a lot of times they never use white light. They use the color spectrum to create white lights. I challenge you, go out in the world, on your walks or as you're driving around or whatever you're doing, and note how little you actually see pure white. More than anything, you're seeing reflected light and it's actually picking up that color. And so one of the things I like about this, I kind of call it a dirty light, but it feels more real because in the world, very rarely do we actually see clean, pure white light. Maybe in the dentist's office. But let's say you go for a walk at dusk tonight, right? You're going to walk in around your neighborhood. You have those yellow incandescent lights, right? Those street lights that kind of burn that sodium vapor yellow. Imagine what your skin would look like being hit by that. But then also imagine what your shadow would look like. It's not going to be black. It's going to hit off the sidewalk and come up. Ooh, and it's actually going to be kind of purplish, maybe like a deep purple. And so start paying attention to the actual colors that you see. Your brain corrects for it very quickly. But kind of pay attention and see like what out in the world the colors actually are. Because very rarely is it actually pure white. So just something to think about. Just something to think about. All right, let's talk about a moment, right? So much of photography is getting the moment. This is from Stacy. What's up, Stacy? Um, if you don't laugh when you see this photo, I don't know what to tell you, right? We have a guy making a stupid face jumping off a jet ski. Um, but also, look at the framing of the jet ski. It forms a triangle and it's framing the person. Yeah, isn't that fun? Um, Anyway, I love the colors. Right, where this big splash of red against the blue and the white. We have him making a silly expression. We have the splash of the water. Um, I don't know. This is just really fun. It just really makes me giggle every time I see it. If you want to say, let's go have some fun on the lake, right? Doesn't that tell that story? Let's go have fun on the lake. Cool. That's exactly what it's saying, right? Are there things you could do? Sure, right? I could see a little more contrast added. Make it a little more poppy, maybe a little vignette on him to bring up his skin tone a little bit. Miguel, what's up, man? You were the first photo. We talked and we gushed lovingly over your Cuba photo. It was awesome, man. I love that photo. Miguel, let me ask you, how many takes did it take to get a car hitting that splash? You can throw that in the comments. I'm just curious how many it took you, because I'm really curious now. Um, anyway, I love this photo. The only thing, you could change, right? You could straighten the horizon. I don't know that that's actually going to make it a better photo. It's supposed to kind of feel off the cuff. Something happened. It doesn't need to be perfect in that sense to make the photo better. It's something you could try. But I love the way the triangle of the jet ski is kind of pointing at his face. And I love that his entire body is above the horizon and above. It's just in the clouds, right? And so that's really fun. So good shot, Stacy. Maybe a little more contrast, maybe a little more vibrance, but all in all, really good moment, right? And I think that's what mini, mini, mini. Yeah, Miguel, that's what I was guessing, right? People always say, "Man, Josh, your photos are so good." I'm like, "Well, I only show you the good ones. I only show you the ones that worked." It might have taken me 1,000 to get that one photo, and I was guessing that that was not just a surreptitious moment, that there was a lot of work to get that one. So I'm glad that Miguel confirmed that. No one photo is just one photo. Most photos are hundreds of photos to get there. Yeah. All right. This one's from Maddie, and I saw her in there. What's up, Maddie? Um, all right, Maddie. Here's some main things here. So let me talk about what I love first. I love the glow. Like if you look at the horse's tail and the ears, we have that backlit glow coming on the horse. And I love like the field behind, right? That kind of like warm, the yellows and greens. Love that. Here's some things I don't love. One, the sky behind his head is not there, right? It's completely blown out. Um, but also he's so dark. So either boosting the shadows or adding another light to it, something. But the shadows just feel really dark to me on this, right? I would have bumped my exposure. What's up, B? Um, uh, but the shadows just feel so dark on this one. It probably needs another stop of exposure, right? On a photo like this, if you don't have an external flash, just go for the skin tone and let everything else go where it is. Because the horse and the rider are kind of the story here. And the sky's going to blow up anyway. So just let it go. The other thing, a little bit of cropping. So maybe a longer lens would have been helpful too. I think there's like a box car on the side, either clone it out or crop it out. But then the horse against the tree, right? I think maybe coming around a little bit and having a longer lens, so that the horse's head has room to exist where it's not crowded out by the tree. And the third thing, my wife rides horses, and this is the first thing she would say looking at this photo, is it doesn't have perky ears. So we don't have, the horse does not look happy. If you look at the horse's ears, he does not look like he is smiling. So a horse smiles with his ears perked forward. We've done a lot of horse photos. My oldest son is named Colt. And um, yeah, if you don't have perky ears, you don't have a horse photo. I know, it's one of those silly things. A lot of times when we do horse photos, we have somebody with a bucket of food just shaking it, so the horse's ears are right there and forward. I do like the rider's expression. I like the glow, but just those little things, cleaning up the edges of our frames, right, the outside edge on either side. But I also think a longer lens where that background's cleaner. You know, don't try to get the sky in this, just let it go because it's already gone. So you might as well just boost the exposure and let his skin come up. So I'd boost it maybe a stop, maybe two, to get that glow all around him as well, and where he feels more glowy and alive. So maybe boosting the shadows as well. So, and then there's a whole lot of negative space. I would crop this down about 30%. So, yay, and I'd clone out the power lines too. But if you overexpose it, the power lines will go away. So, look at that, some mean things. I'm sorry, Maddie. Thank you for helping me at the wedding a couple weeks ago. Appreciate you. All right. So Kendra, who is watching on her phone, so I know she's listening. But she says, hey, you know, I like this. It's an artist. She does some work for Hope Gallery, right? They have a big graffiti wall and all that. She's like, I cropped off the elbows. I cropped off one in camera, so I did the other one to match. You know, it's got the art behind her. So, you know, her question was like, what do I do better here? Okay, so let's talk about what you can do better. So a couple things. One, I like that you have, I think it's the artist's work behind. I'm not 100% sure on that. So I like that we have context, right? Artist and their art, right? That's good. I like her face, right? I like her expression. It's like kind of a, I don't know. She looks like she's about to throw hands. And I like that about her. I like feisty women. But one of them is posing. So she's very wide, straight on, and turning just a little bit is going to reduce her profile. Just a little bit, not a lot. But also maybe this would have been better as a horizontal instead of a vertical, or something else that could have been done, shooting with a little bit longer lens. Shooting with wide lenses can be very difficult. This feels about like a 50, I don't know if it's exactly that, but it feels around there. And this can be where like an 85 makes it a little bit easier. Oh, hello, cat. Sorry, we have a fluffy cat trying to join us today. And you know, so a longer lens can be useful here. This is a hard room. Though that hallway looks very narrow, right? That's a very hard room to shoot in to begin with. You know, I think there was a speed light used, and I'm just guessing here, but I think there was a speed light used. Kendra, if you're out there, you can tell me yes or no. But so yeah, I mean, with that pose, I would have maybe gone horizontal, just to keep her elbows, because we have room above, and if we had come back a little bit more, we could have had a little bit easier time framing. The other thing you could do is just crop all the way in so that it's just like collarbone and up, right, just below the necklace, and then you don't have to worry about those elbows coming cropped. Sorry, Kitty wants attention. His name's Beast. He's 20 pounds. He kind of gets what he wants. So yeah, you know, this is a tough room, right? Event photography is something I do quite a lot of, and it can be tough. It's run and gun. You often don't have time to set up things the way you want them to, you know, so it can be difficult. I understand that. But yeah, I would have gone with a horizontal crop. It's probably my first one, just to fit in her and maybe catch some more of those walls on the side to give us a little bit more context. I like her pose. I would have had her turn maybe 10 degrees, just so where she's kind of leaning in, and that's gonna make her look, I don't know, just a little bit more streamlined there. So yeah. And if you had another flash, throw it on that background, and you could have lit it up where it says tattoo, and that could have been cool too, where you can independently control the light on her face and the back. So that's something we talk about a lot when we're lighting, is lighting in layers, where we can have a light on the background, have a light on the middle ground, and have a light on the foreground, and have enough distance where we can independently control those rates. So like a flash on her face isn't going to change the exposure on the background. So if you had a light back there, they work independent of each other, and that just gives you a little bit more control. I wrote a post recently about salt and pepper, and that's kind of what I'm talking about too, right? One for the shadows, one for the highlights, and then you can independently control the highlights and the shadows instead of having one light trying to do all the work. So something to play with. All right, this is from Mark. Yeah. So this is his Neowise, and he says it was a composite. So I like that there's context. I'm about to show you a photo of my Neowise, and I tried to shoot it with a super long lens, and I gave it no context. Um, I was in my neighborhood with my kids, so I didn't really. I don't know. It's not a good photo, but I want to talk about it for other reasons. But this one, I like that there's a context. So if we squint our eyes, we have this cool diagonal. So if you look at the top left of the photo to the bottom right, we almost have this diagonal going across. We have stars on one side and trees and mailbox on the other. Um, so I like that. I like that the comet is kind of in between some branches, and it gives it context for size and kind of what it's doing. So I like all of that. We need to work on our compositing. The mailbox, all of a sudden, all the stars go away as you get within about 50 pixels of the mailbox. I'm not sure what happened there. And we go from stars in focus to stars out of focus. So when you're doing focus stacking, that type of thing, it can be a hard blend, right? The mailbox is in focus, and the trees are out of focus, and the stars are in focus again. So that can be tough. Just let it go out. Just let the mailbox go out of focus. There's no reason for it or need for it to be in focus. So just let it go. Hey, Mark, if you're still there, how many photos did it take for you to get the comet like that? Is it just one exposure? Let me know when you get to it. But yeah, just a little bit better blending. There's some weirdness going on with things that are kind of in focus and kind of out of focus. Um, so unless you're focus stacking all the way through the photo, it can kind of be disorienting to those watching it. That why is this in focus? Like it's just kind of weird. It's kind of cool in that it's surreal a little bit, um, but the in focus stars and out of focus stars both is kind of strange. But I like the weight of it. Yeah, two photos total. Okay. Um, I like the weight of the diagonal. So we have a diagonal kind of through the photo with stars above and below. So that's probably the best part. And you got a good tail on that. Um, but just yeah, clean up a little bit on the Photoshop layer masking because there's some blending errors there that are kind of distracting. Um, yeah, so good. I'm glad you got to see it. At the night sky, the thing that you'll hate more than anything are airplanes, and soon probably all the satellites that are going into the sky. We have a lot more satellites. You're going to start seeing those more and more tracking across the sky for longer exposures. So it's getting harder and harder to see night sky, right? It's getting harder and harder to get clean views of the sky without airplanes or headlights or light pollution. And so we need to shoot all the photos we can now because these views are going away soon. So anyway, good photo, Mark. Yeah, keep working on it, man. Go on. You know what? Hey, we've all been quarantined. This is a great time to go into the woods and explore and try new things. So really great first effort at this. Just keep going with it. Yeah, keep going with it. Yeah. All right, this is from our Patreon. Mia. Mia's actually the model in this one. She is not the photographer. But I like getting photos from her because then we get to see other photographers' work. Mia's excellent to work with. If you need a model, she is wonderful. Please hire her. The thing that jumps out, I love the color grading in this one. I think the skin tones are really well handled. I like the pop of red. I like the red and white kind of. I think that all works. The thing that kind of bothers me about this is the messy hair across the eye and the forehead. I don't mind it on the back of the hair where it should feel messy. But the strength of most portrait photos is that first eye. The eye closest to you is typically the one you want in focus and the one you typically want to tell the story. So two things. Either this person did that, the front eye's the one in focus, but it has all the hair going across. I'd clean that up in post, right? Spot healing brush or Portrait Pro or something. Or another way to solve that problem, put your focus on the back eye, right? The eye on the back side of the portrait. And that one doesn't have hair going across it. And so maybe that could be a way where it's not in focus, so it's going to be a little bit blurry. So that's kind of a way to solve for that problem is changing your focus on what's in focus, right? Your eye goes to what's sharp. And so in this case, our eye goes to her front eye because that's the thing that's in focus. And that's where our eye goes. It's this thing that's sharp, but that also makes the hair sharp and it's going across her eye. And it's just enough to be distracting, not so much that it's kind of the messy hair in front. So it's kind of that middle ground. I think the biggest problems we all have as photographers is getting caught in the middle, right? A crop's in the middle. It's not it's not in enough, it's not out enough, right? That kind of getting caught in the middle. And I think this focus is kind of in the middle. The hair's in the middle. It's not enough to be messy. There's not enough detail in the photo to be that messy photo, but there's too much to be the clean beauty portrait. So anyway, Mia, keep throwing out photos. We love getting photos from you. So yeah, but that's what I would change on this one. All right, this one's from Mr. Brian. Mr. Brian and I just had a fun time on Sunday shooting punk rockers. Brian, throw out your Instagram if you're still listening so they can go see it. We did a replica cover of NXS, one of their album covers. So we did a replica shoot. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, we'll give you a chance to throw out your stuff. So this is this kind of like nice, stark, serene landscape. I don't know. I'm of two minds of this photo. I haven't really decided if I like it or not. That power line at the very top, I didn't notice it at first. I don't know if I like it, but I kind of do like it. I don't know. This is one of those that feels caught in the middle to me again. There you go, Brian. Outsider visuals. Outsiders visuals. It'll be posted tomorrow. Cool. Yeah, go follow him on Instagram, y'all. The vignetting, it feels a little strong to me. I would have liked to have seen more gradient in the vignetting to where it doesn't fall off so fast. I mean, this one falls off too fast. I want to see it more smooth. I like the weight of it. I think the weight of it is good. The fence, there's one tall post in the fence, right? So that follows a pattern interrupted. So if we're looking for compositional techniques, one of the strongest ones I always say is find a pattern and interrupt it. And so that fence line has that, right? That fence line has the pattern interrupted, and it provides balance to the windmill, the broken windmill over on the other side. And so we have some balance there. So I like that. And then we just have this like empty vastness of the sky. And I'm guessing this is somewhere out West Texas-y. It certainly feels like it could be West Texas-y, southern New Mexico-y, right? Somewhere in there. And so it should feel vast and open and empty because it's vast and empty and open, right? So it should feel that way. But I just feel, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a negative gradient just to bring a little bit more detail into the bottom. I don't know. There's something there. This one feels in the middle to me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do with this photo. I'm not sure what to do to make it better. I have a hard time shooting this type of photo. I have a hard time making a compelling, stark photo. I tend to fill my frame up with a whole bunch of stuff. And so it's hard for me to get these kind of like wide open landscapes. I just don't feel like I'm good at them. I mean, yeah, of course, storm clouds, always. But on a hot summer day, how do you tell that story? I don't know. Maybe, yeah, like I said, just a negative gradient on the foreground, just to make it kind of blend in. Because I like the detail in the corners. I like the where it vignettes in the corners. I like that better. And so I would have liked to have seen that effect all the way through the foreground. So maybe try that, just like a negative gradient on the foreground to darken that, to even it out, that vignette. The vignette just feels too strong. I want to see it fade in and fade out a little more smoothly. So that's my big. I like this black and white. Of course, it's Brian's black and white. We'll call him Black and White Brian. Yeah, I just, I like it. Were you driving when you shot this? I'd be curious what this looks like in like a second long exposure, right? Driving along in a car on a smooth road. I don't know. Something to think about. Something to think about. Okay. I'm going to have a little game for y'all. Let's play Guess the ISO that Josh shot this at. So I use my 100 to 400. This was shot at, I think I was f5.6 aperture, and I was something like 1 second exposure, because at 400 millimeters, the stars, I didn't want the stars to blur, but I was at a super long focal length. And so I needed a very short exposure time. Yeah, I was all the way, yeah, exactly right, Steven. I was completely turned up. My Canon had no more ISO to give. It was all the way to the right. So I was like 12,000, what was that? 12,800 ISO at 5.6 at 1 second, something like that for my exposure. But this photo is very clean. And what I did, one of the websites I really like, there's a guy named Ian Norman. So for those of y'all who are interested in the night sky, he does a great work. His website is called Lonely Spec. Let me type it in the chat over here. But yeah, Lonely Spec. Go check him out. And what this actually is 8 exposures in Photoshop as a smart object, and then I selected the stacking method as median. I've never done this before, and I had to align. I tried to auto align the layers, and it got close, but not quite. So I had to manually align the layers to account for the rotation of the sky between all the photos. And that actually wasn't that bad of a process. But he has a tutorial on his channel that was really good. And this allowed me to, honestly, this photo looks as clean as I normally shoot at like ISO 800 or 1600, and I was like 4 stops past that. Really crazy how clean it looks. And I shot like 50 just in case I needed more, but 8 photos honestly did really well. So I'm gonna have to try that for Milky Way. So I'm teaching a Milky Way class at Precision in August. And I'm going to be trying some of this where we take 4 or 8 and manually align the Milky Way with itself. And then we'll do a median stack for the foreground and another one for the background as a way to keep everything nice and clean, even at shooting at deeper f-stop. So this might allow me to shoot at 6400 at 5.6 instead of 1600 and 2.8 if I want more depth of field, and then stack them later and get really clean files, even at literally the highest ISO my camera would go. It would not go. There was no more dials to spin. And shooting at 12,800 is not something I do very often. So I just thought it was interesting. I just want to show that photo to you as a way, especially with the night sky. The next 2 months are kind of the last 2 months to get Milky Way stuff until March or April. So I just thought I wanted to share that with you as a way. But look at Lonely Spec. It's a really great resource. There's some really cool stuff. I've been trying out a lot of his techniques. So yeah, if any of y'all saw on Instagram, I did a vertical Milky Way. That was 16 photos, but it's the technique that I learned from there as well. And I've just been trying to put into practice for the last couple months. So yeah. All right. Anything else? Do we have? Oh yeah. Here we go. And then we have a photo from Miss Kira. Kira Hand Photography. Kira, raise your hand. Say hello to the group. She is Kira. Second shoots with me quite a bunch, and just kind of a general assist. She's always great to have around. And her question was, she really wanted a more dramatic light from behind, but wasn't happy with what she was happy with what she got, but it wasn't all the way what she wanted. And so her light, if y'all can see the green light in the windows, that is her second light. So she has a light on them, and then a green light from behind. Hi, Kira. And you know, she wanted to know like what she could do to make it more dramatic. So let's talk real quick about lights. A light with your camera, so your camera's here, your light here, the drama is 0. As you move your light around to 180, that's 100% drama. And as you move it around, that's your drama meter. Okay? 180 is 100%, and then it's just a slider as you come back around. And so what I would do here, I would have moved them maybe 3 feet to the right, camera right, so that they're inhabiting that open window, right, to camera right. Because they kind of get lost in the wood and the vines behind them. So take that light and put it directly behind, and then it's going to pick up that smoke a little bit more. The other thing, her main light is very broad, right? It's a very big, I'm guessing it's probably the beauty dish. Am I right there that you use the beauty dish on this one? But it still puts out a pretty big spread of light. And so it's washing out that backlight. And so again, this is kind of where we talk about lighting and layers. If we had pulled them forward, right, away from that wall, that light wouldn't be hitting on the wall, and it would allow us to really blow out with another color. If you look in the lower right of this photo, you can actually see a little bit of the green and the smoke and the shadows. So if you look to the right, right behind his knees, you can see a little bit of the green smoke. And so imagine if we had pulled them and the away from that wall, and then that way the wall, the main light isn't washing out your backlight, because that's what's happening here. That's why you don't see the effect of it, is that you need more distance between the subject and the background. It was a softbox, okay, yeah, and that's even harder, right? So it's a fight between the quality of light you want, right? The quality of softbox, smooth light, versus the distance you have to work with. It's always tough. Now, again, what the advice I'm giving doesn't take into effect what was actually there, right? Maybe you couldn't have moved back. Maybe they were as far away from the wall as they could. And that certainly happens. So a couple things. The geometry of this is a little, I don't know, it feels a little skewed. Like you weren't quite centered, and this photo kind of needs that centering. So maybe Lightroom Transform to, or Photoshop Transform to kind of even out the sides, because it feels a little falling to the right. So the geometry of the shot would be the first thing that I would do. But yeah, I would move them over and just use that open window, have the haze going through that open window, and then having it coming right at their head, because then it's going to provide an outline against them where they're not, it's going to separate them off the background. And I would try to bring the softbox even closer so that it falls off before it gets to that back wall, right? So the closer we get with our light sources, the less power we have to use, right? Because we're getting closer, right? If you have a little flashlight and it's right in your eyeball, it's very bright. At 100 yards, it's not very bright. Yeah, I know that greenhouse. Yeah, so that's where software comes in to help us transform all that. But getting the softbox even closer to them and letting it fall off so that it's just illuminating their face and it's going to fall off by their feet, but it also means that it's going to fall off by the wall, and then that allows that backlight to come in and not get washed out, because it's not competing with the full power of the softbox then. So it's still a fun photo, right? It's still a fun photo. She asked me specifically to talk about that part, but it's still fun, right? I love their outfits. I love the way they're looking at each other. The other thing, the posing, I don't know. What do y'all think? Do we love that his hand's in his pocket? You know, you have this lovely woman. I would be yelling at him to throw his hands around him, right? It's something I've been known to say. If you're gonna go halfway, go all the way. This would also be maybe a fun like dip or something. I don't know. But she really asked me just to talk about the lighting on this one. So yeah, I would move them over. And then it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. Just use that open window as a frame and really pump that light in from the back so that it picks up more of the smoke. So, but thanks for submitting this, Kira. It's a good one to talk about. I appreciate you. I think that's it. And that's it for today. Awesome, yo. Let's see, what are some things we have coming up? I think next week, I don't think I'm going to stream next week. I have a multi-day corporate shoot for a client, and I just don't know if I'm going to have time to stream next week, and I just need a little break. Oh, also, I'll be on Facebook Live for Precision tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We're going to be talking photography and business, which is something that we've been talking a whole bunch about on our podcast, right? The podcast.com. So, yeah, plenty around the waist too. Okay, good. So yeah, if you want to hear me talk about photography and business, we'll be doing that on the Precision's Facebook channel tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And then we have a Milky Way class on August 15th. And I think we're going to be doing a projector class. So through Precision, we're going to be doing a virtual projector class. So we're talking about using monitors and iPads and laptops as light sources, and then also using a projector as both a background and as a key light. And I have some cool examples of that. So that's coming up as well. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? Any questions before we go? This has been a really fun one. We had some really great photos. If you'd like to see your photo up there, join our Patreon and you can submit. Let's see, anything else going on? Yeah, I need to record some more podcast episodes. I'm working on that. And I think that's all we got for today. I'm going to go eat some ice cream now because it's hot. And I have been working outside all day. Yeah, anyway, thanks for joining us for episode 9. Ooh, next time we do it is going to be episode 10. I'm so excited. But episode 9 of Josh Says Mean Things. Y'all have a great night. Thanks.